Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Good. All right. Um, no, I'm sure most of you are aware why we're here, but we're going to talk about DSP data with Abstract Office, as well as go into a little bit on the new animation system and why you probably should be using it. It's pretty cool. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Colin Kopka. I've been a programmer here for about 3 years, but before that, I was an intern for 3 semesters or 1 full year. Um, last few months of my internship, I actually got the chance to actually start working with Office extensions and kind of do some programming and maintenance and such. Um, and I mean, my whole time I've been here, I've been basically almost exclusively working with Office clients and projects. I'm also currently the developer responsible for Abstract Office. Um, this wonderful picture here is a celebration cake I got at the end of my first semester of my internship. I exceeded the low expectations that were placed on me at that time, so yay. So we're going to start off the data office. Some of you might have seen it. It got pushed out with 9.0. But what it is just a set of interfaces on the four main snappers that you use in Abstract Office. So talking panel frame, skin frame, work surface, and supported work surface. Um, there's also a few other classes as part of Data Office to help facilitate working with DSP data on those snappers. They also provide a little bit of extra functionality. And these classes also can act as a nice example for how you might want to work with DSP data just generically on a snapper. So, as I said, the main four things in there, we have four interfaces on top of panel frame, skin frame, work surface, support work surface, and they are very cleverly named data panel frame, data skin frame, data work surface, and data supported work surface. Very creative with these names. Um, Now, the two other classes I was going to talk about, we have Abstract Office Multi-P data and an Abstract Office Proxy Prop Type. Those are used to facilitate, and I will go into some details on those. Specifically, multi-P data. So this is stored as the mdata field on those four classes to allow quick access to your multi-data. But it's also stored as a field prop def, so that way you can access it generically through a key. Provides kind of these main functionalities, so it'll generate cache keys based on your data SKU number as well as the selected options. You can also use it to reset the data when your part numbers have changed and to maintain your selected options. Also, you can control the visibility of specific options and properties in the stack of properties that you show for your data. So it kind of adds a little nice functionality there. The proxy prop type. Now this is specifically for snapper properties. Um, this is a custom property type to allow you to control the visibility of the properties as they show up in the sidebar. Um, Also, you can add a custom key and a custom label for these datas. So this is something where you might use if you have multiple DSP datas on your snapper, and you want to maybe show them in a separate section, separate label, or you want your property that may be normally coming as a list to show up as buttons, things like that. So now I'm going to kind of just go down kind of the interfaces we have on these classes. A little bit of info about them. If you've worked with DSP data before, a lot of these will probably seem pretty familiar. So we have our init data, just initialize and put the main data on our multi-data. We have our create multi-data. So as it does, just creates the multi-data. So if you subclass like the Abstract Office multi-P data, or if you have your own multi-data you want to use, you create it here. And then we have this create data method. So we're passing in a part number, also a key for the data to be stored on the multi-data, as well as a quantity for that part. So with this, we're able to just quickly create a data as we need to. And I'll set the quantity, which is one of those little things that's nice to have when you need it. We have our main data key, so if you want to use a custom key for your main data, or if you want to swap that out at times, you can do that here. And then sync data. So the purpose of this guy, based on the data key you pass in, is to reset the data when there's part number change, preserving your selected options. This will also, the snapper level call update connectors and also update your graphics. If for some reason it does fail to sync the data because it couldn't find it with the key that you provided, it will create the data, um, calling create data, and that's kind of the whole point of having the data key on all these guys, so that way we can generically say, here's a key, make it, sync the data for it. If you didn't find it, cool, I can just pass the key right to create data, And that can pass it directly to part number, as we'll see later, that also takes the key. So we're able to kind of generically just go through the entire data process with a key in the case there's a problem. Now we're going to get a little bit into graphics here. So use catalog frame 2D slash use catalog frame 3D. These guys are just, if you want to actually use graphics from your catalog, you may want to just use more lightweight graphics from that you make yourself, or maybe you don't even care about what the graphics look like for the internals of a frame. There's comparable methods for work surface as well. Um, and then we have get 2D by key and get 3D by key. So this kind of still expands on the whole passing the key around all over the place. So this allows us to then control specifically what graphics we're using per data. So maybe if you have a bracket or something that you're storing data for, but it's a bracket. Maybe it doesn't have any options. Maybe it's just a square bracket. So why use fancy catalog graphics when you can just return a box and use it here? So this is where you can kind of bypass some of that functionality. This guy will also call graphic transform 2D and graphic transform 3D, which I'll go into a little bit of detail here. So those guys call graphic transform, passing the key as well. So this is where you would adjust your catalog graphics to sync up with the origin of your snapper. And then we have our data cache key. So if you need to add any options to your cache key, you can do so here. We also have data property keys. So this is a key label subset that you can use to actually control what properties you pull from which data. So maybe you don't always want to pull properties from your data. You can control that functionality here. Accept data property. This passes in a DsPData, takes in the data key as well as the DsSnapper property. So this gives you a little bit more control of the visibility of specific properties. And you can actually filter the property based on the feature code or feature keys or the group code. And those get checked in the hidden group codes and hidden feature key methods that we see here. Um, just doing pretty much what they say they do. They hide, or they are a list of the group codes and feature keys you want to hide from properties. And finally, we have part number. And this is just as it's doing. It gives you the part number for your product based on the key. This is leveraged, as I was saying, by sync data to actually put data on the multi-data if it isn't found. So I decided to throw in some GIFs in here yesterday as I was going through trying to make things a little more entertaining for you. So simply, data office is a bunch of methods and classes to facilitate the use of DSP data with abstract office, and also serving as an example. So it's relatively straightforward. It's still early, so we're planning on expanding it, or I'd like to expand on it more. So there's things we can do with like supports, for example. There's lots of other classes in Office that we can expand on here as well. Um, but I've had a chance to actually start using it in some of the projects I'm working on, and it actually makes things really nice. I've been working on some work services and with some supports, and being able to just define a unique like data key for each of my supports with their data, and pass that just to the main snapper and have it manage all of it. So I don't have to call any special sync datas, anything special for part number. I can just have it kind of all generically handle all my management just as I would on another snapper, but for all my other sub datas. So it makes things really nice and easy to use. Suppose, are there any questions so far on Data Office? I kind of went through that a little bit quick here. Okay. So now, something slightly more interesting, and I'm sure something that you guys are a little bit curious about, is the new animation system. So I'm going to try to talk here about how it's different from the old system in terms of design and functionality. And also, I want to talk a little bit about why we should use it, or why you guys should be using it, or at least consider converting over, perhaps using it for new development down the line. And I'd love to hear thoughts here as well as we're going towards the end on the new animations if you have started to use them already. So old style versus new style. So if you've worked with the old animations before, they're pretty self-contained. They did a lot of work for them. You kind of had to maybe reinvent the wheel a little bit here and there. And they were, you had one animation that did basically one job. Um, you know, as a result, as I was saying, you might have some duplication of functionality. You know, I need to find these snappers, so maybe I'll copy this, space searching functionality from here and put into my new animation. Um, Electrical systems, perhaps you have, duplicating animations for inserting like power harnesses and whatnot. Um, but with the new system, we can kind of step away from that. The animations aren't quite so much this kind of be all, encapsulate all this functionality per each animation. And with the new system, we can be more contextually aware with the animations and how they're actually working and interacting with things. So, obsolete state mouse animation versus the spawning animation and the core animation. So the obsolete state mouse animation was kind of the old way of doing things. You had states that you could control to kind of create different stages of your animation if you needed to. Um, and you mostly use traditional animation properties. With the new animations, specifically the spawning animation, you're no longer dealing with states as you're actually chaining together animations. So if you do keep your animations kind of consolidated with it does this thing, you can write just individual animations and then generically kind of chain them together. So you can create multiple stages without having to create giant animations with if state equals 0, do this thing. If state equals 1, do this other thing. And then having to manage all that data and all of that functionality in one giant animation. Also, with the new animations, we're dealing with core properties as opposed to the animation properties. Um, I believe Paul gave a talk about that this morning. So hopefully you're able to attend that and learn a bit about those there, as well as vessels. Vessels are heavily used by the new animation, or at least they can be, and they provide a lot of good functionality to work with there. And the new animations also take good advantage of prop defs for generating your properties in kind of a nice, clean, concise way. Vessels, prop defs, core properties. Oh my. Uh, New animations, so they get a lot of their power from the vessels and the prop defs. So the vessels allow us to basically encapsulate functionality for these animations in just nice little bundles, and then we can add them either directly the animation, or we can go to our snappers and say, "Cool, give me some vessels," and thus we're able to modify how the animation behaves just with mousing over. Uh, and the animation doesn't need to know specifically about these snappers. The prop defs, as I was saying, also allow for an easy, concise setup of our properties for the animations, and the vessels can provide those as well. So your animations actually turn out to be pretty lightweight and pretty small and relatively generic. So with the animations not doing nearly as much work, what are they kind of here for, right? So new animations kind of can be viewed more as kind of event handling. They're there to take input and handle events from the user, right? When the user clicks, when the user maybe drags, when they move, the animation is the one who's delegating this out to like its vessels, for example. And some of the nice stuff with the new animations is that, specifically if you're using the tool animation G2, you don't need to worry about trying to find your snappers in space. You don't have to write any code going through, do a space search around this radius based on my mouse point. Tell me what you find, filter it out. Uh, the tool animations provide a lot of that functionality for you already. So right there's already a big chunk of code that you don't have to worry about anymore. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the new terminology from the new animations, some of the kind of important methods to pay attention to. Um, so update is one of the new ones. So it's similar to kind of the drag and move animation from the old system, and basically just indicating that something on the animation has changed. So this will get called by some of the input handlers in various places. Uh, Selected. So this is specifically your mouse has been you've actually pressed. You have not released yet. So this is a kind of rising action indicator that hey, we have clicked on something. We might be and we're basically could be holding down. And then as soon as we let go, we get release. And then as I was kind of talking about the input controllers, we have init controller. So this lives on the animation, and this allows you to basically define your own animation input controller to then kind of handle some of these other things. So maybe you want to create an animation that responds with 3 clicks, maybe kind of like 3 stages, or stuff that does a lot of stuff with dragging. You can then actually create your own input controller and directly handle some of like the Windows events that you get from dragging and such. Yes. Gestures, like, what do you mean? I have not seen anyone use that, but that is the sort of thing that you could probably do with the input controller. So you get a lot of control there, so you can really kind of fine tune your animations if you really want to go kind of above and beyond. Um, and then, of course, we have init vessels for the animations. This is where you get a lot of power if you're actually kind of predefining some vessels for your own animations. And then event vessel notify. This is where you actually kind of do your event handling. So when you click, if you put this in selected or released, you can then notify all your vessels that, hey, I have released. Whatever you want to do, however you want to interpret that, do so. If you want to gather info from your candidates, you can do so. If you don't want to do anything, it's fine. But this is where you can actually notify things. So this is where the animations become a lot more of event handlers as opposed to actually doing all this work. So a little demo here of a little kind of animation I kind of mocked up here, specifically using the new system. Mouse, please. So you can see here I'm just kind of moving stuff around. Click on the guy and I kind of just sold graphics. So it just kind of creates a little stack of graphics basically as I click on things. So nothing kind of crazy in terms of kind of functionality. You see I have kind of a single property. Fortunately, it's very blurry. But that property is just removed. So thus, when I check that, if I click on a snapper, then it'll find where it is in the stack and remove it. Nice, kind of clean, simple. Nothing crazy, but also I have custom graphics based on whether you are removing or adding. Changing the color of the box. Kind of go through it again here. Doesn't matter the order. So something they kind of trying to do with the old system. It's not by any means without or impossible to do in the old system, but working it on the new system actually turned out to be pretty nice. So I believe next year I'm going to be kind of going over some of the code that I wrote for this. So this is my animation. It's very verbose, very expansive, um, very nice. So I create a single vessel here. This is my graphic stack vessel. Um, Lives here. Have a couple props that I modify there. You can always use the owner position, being the animations position. Have it kind of validate always. And then on release, I just say, hey, vessels, I'm releasing. I'm passing in my candidate here. If you want to do something with it, go ahead. And update. That's it. That's all my animation does. All my power now comes from my vessels. So this kind of broken up in a bit odd. So this is the top of the class, middle, bottom. Um, this is that main vessel that I was talking about, the graphic stack vessel. So this is here I'm kind of creating a few fields to store my graphics as well as the class of the objects I'm interacting with. Threw a couple of props on there. So I have my remove prop that I use for generating my properties. And then this vessel has 2 sub-vessels. It has a stack push and a stack pop vessel for putting things on and taking things off. So this vessel handles my graphics for the animation. So it does all that work. So the animation itself doesn't need to know about the graphics or anything like that. The vessel handles all that work. And then you can see in the far right there, the top, I have my owner event. So this is where I'm saying, hey, I've released from my owner. Let's do something. So I'll go through, check against the objects, and if I'm removing, I'm going to pass that down to my pop vessel. If I'm not removing things, we're going to actually push something on my little graphical stack. Um, Input settings here is where I'm actually defining that, hey, I want this property to have to show up as a like an animation property or a core property here. I'm basically just giving it a label here, but I can do other things here, like say maybe I want buttons if I was doing multiple selections here. I can make it a list. There's all kinds of things I can do here. And then I'm just handling that change, setting my vessels active or inactive based on whether remove is true or not. And then each of those 2 sub-vessels are also really small. All they do is just grab graphics or remove graphics from my stack. So nothing crazy here. But now I have 3 vessels and 1 animation. Each of these vessels have no requirements on the animation for the most part. I've kind of designed these to be a little more specific, but you can make these very generic if need be. So I'm going to go and kind of ramble here a little bit, but so kind of in conclusion, some of the points I'm kind of get across here is the new system is very flexible. So and it's a different kind of paradigm that we're working with here. So no longer are we dealing with each of these very specific animations. We're now able to be a lot more versatile. We're able to be more context aware on what the user is actually pointing at. And then we can say, cool, whatever you're pointing at, we want it to have these functionalities. So from there, we can now actually just kind of do the work. We don't have to program specifically, this animation only does this thing when you're pointing at things. And if you point at something else, it does nothing. You don't have to switch through tabs potentially as much. And the vessels allow us to encapsulate all this functionality in nice little boxes, more or less. So that way, snappers can provide their own custom stuff, um, and we can now reuse these across multiple animations. And the process just make it easy to add properties, makes it quick and clean. Uh, so, if you have any questions right now, I also kind of wanted to point out. So, I've worked on a few projects and I've seen many cases where your library tabs get huge with animations, right? You have maybe panels, you have different tile material applying animations, you have electrical animations that every product line has its own animation for applying power harnesses or manual in feeds or jumpers, things of that sort. Uh, Using the new system, you can kind of get away from having to create all these duplicate. Extension A has this electrical animation, extension B has this one. You could put all this functionality into vessels on the snappers and then just have a generic electrical animation that just applies all your electrical. So now you're talking maybe 3 or 4 buttons as opposed to every extension needing all those buttons. So you're able to consolidate this down, create a more streamlined user experience, and also coding and maintenance becomes a lot easier because now you're just interacting with individual vessels as opposed to go to every animation. Um, and I think that's something that would be really nice to see is kind of more streamlined experience. And I think users would probably also really appreciate having less buttons, less library tabs to jump through, less questions like, oh well, this button on this one does this thing, but it doesn't do it on this one. Is that intended? Is that a bug? They just have one button and they say, oh hey, I'm pointing to this, it's not working. We as programmers can maybe say, okay, cool, go to its vessel that applies its electrical and say, oh, found the problem, done, and fix that. But we don't have to worry about messing anything else up there. And the vessels are keeping usually kind of a flat structure here, so you're not also diving through huge hierarchies of animations, right? You're not going through, well, I'm extending a core animation, I have my own extension-specific animation that goes down to another animation that I've subclassed down farther. You're able to keep these things relatively small, concise, and flatter trees. I went a lot faster than I was intending. Oof. Ugh. Questions, please. Paul, why? Sure. So, no, I mean that is definitely not. Might be easier if I actually boot up CT here. So I'm going to go dark for a hot second and boot things up here for you, so that way we can actually kind of look at it live. Any other questions while I'm pulling this up? Any other general curiosities? Yes. I can provide that code. Yes, I can include that with things. Okay. Emacs, what are you doing? Apparently, Emacs doesn't like that I can't connect to Perforce right now. Seems a little odd. Hmm. I might. I don't know. Emacs is being very odd right now. The thing is, they're so interconnected, so it's hard not to talk about all of them together.
Yeah,
Oh, is it the same?
connect to that one.
Oh, is it? Is it?
It's I capital
Oh,
L.
yep.
But it's not the I love CT design.
Right. I love. Is it I love 18? I love it 18.
Exclamation 18.
Okay. Eh. Yeah, this is odd because like it doesn't open. It was not booting up directly in my C file, as well as it wouldn't even let me like clean. It
Oh,
wasn't
really?
accepting anything. Okay. So I love E it.
18.
Try again. Da. Oh, now it's starting up. Interesting. Maybe I won't need it. Okay. Well, either way, this started up,
Well, it
so
started up, so yeah.
hopefully I'm good. Assuming that. Okay. Okay, things are getting started up here. Okay. Bum. Oh no, I moved that. That's right. Um, where are you? Where are you? Where did you go? Ah, test animation. There we are. Okay. So right here's a little kind of showing off against some of the new properties a little bit. So this is kind of how they look. Um, if you haven't noticed, there's some also kind of cool stuff you can do with them. I've not had a chance to play around with them too much, but you can move these guys now. So they stay at a sort of a window. They will kind of nice contextually snap and align along things. Some cool stuff. So this is all coming in 9.5. So roughly a month here now. Yep, roughly a month. Make sure you're migrating. Uh, migrate early. Blah, blah, blah. So kind of one other thing, kind of show some. I was talking a lot about kind of contextually aware animations, right? So if we look at like the remover animation here, so things will actually be. So see here, I'm kind of getting custom graphics as I mouse over things, which is fine and dandy. Um, but kind of a cool thing if I now go to the custom shape tool. Really should have brought my mouse. Leave this guy. So we're gonna just make a little custom shape guy here. Is it triangle or square, guys? Trapezoid. Gotta make these. Well, I give it up. I'm going with a triangle. All right, got my cool triangle here. Right. So now let's kind of go back to my remover animation. So as we were kind of seeing before, right? Got some custom graphics based on what I kind of mouse over. But now I mouse over my custom shape, and now we see, hey, I have a new property here called remove members. Well, let's check that. Now I can say, hey, I want to remove one of these points here. Now, this is a triangle. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen if I remove it. I'll probably just get a line. But now we're seeing I have context-specific functionality here with a core animation. I didn't have to subclass this animation at all. I was able to, on my snapper, say, hey, if you're dealing with a remove animation, provide this vessel. And then this vessel says, cool, I'm going to add this functionality here. So maybe, maybe you want to not have to write your own remover animation. Maybe you have, I don't know, something like stack-ons on your panel frames, and you write your own remover animation to kind of help eliminate those. You could tie directly into this remover animation using your own vessel to say, hey, let's just kill off that stack guy. You don't have to write your own animation anymore. So now, more consistent user experience, because now users know, hey, if I want to remove something, I can always go to my just the remove animation, no matter what extension I'm working in. So it's more streamlined. One place, they don't have to maybe switch to a different tab or realize, oh, I'm placing product from A and it has this remover animation, but now I'm actually in such tab B and that remover animation doesn't work with stuff from tab A. So I gotta flip back, scroll, find it, do my thing, and maybe flip back and forth, back and forth. That's precious time that your users are losing, and it's also frustrating. Have to flip back and forth. So with the vessels and with the new animations, we have this contextually aware animation, so we can throw all that to the side. Users happy. Happy users means we're happy. It means hopefully also less things that we have to debug and fix, and more cool things we can actually work on. More products, new features, and such. Alrighty. Any other questions? Yes. Alrighty. Well, let's right. And I see CJ back there. Feel free to correct me if I say something wrong here. All right. Somehow, for some reason, my Emacs is being very odd today, and I can't actually find anything. Yeah, yeah, these are all dev workspaces, so I don't believe. Really? Okay, well, um, let's see, let's see. I have to turn those on manually. No, show debug toolbox. Hopefully. Da, 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 da. Okay, okay. I don't know why my Emacs being on. Do you remember where the custom shape is defined, CJ? Yeah. For some reason, I can't Alt-I on anything. Nothing is working. Everything is horrible. Seam draw. Oh, abstract draw? Oh, yeah. Abstract draw. Yeah, come give me a hand. Uh, no, it's being odd. Technical difficulties, apologize. Well, I turned on, like, I'm getting weird. What the? Oh, lordy. Yeah, okay. Um, uh, the vessel should be. Oh, this is a different guy, isn't it? Well, oh, well, I can. Draw shape snapper. Draw shape. Oh, progress. No, not progress.
Might be just draw shape. Tab on that. Draw shape, that's at the bottom. It's abstract. I mean, there's another way to go about it too. You could define files.
Oh yeah.
It shows you.
Find it file.
Yeah, you can see the chosen. It's not manual.
Chosen.
At least there shouldn't be many of them.
Yeah. And I've never seen you actually do this way. Like as soon as I start uploading the my T files, it's like I don't know.
Oh,
It will say.
well, because you don't have internet connection.
Yeah.
There's a perforce command in the Emacs.
Oh, that's what it was. I was blocking it.
It's so terrible. Why can't we find this? This never takes this long. Computers.
All the power computers. Oh, hey.
So now you're looking for abstract draw. Oh man, other people are actually making use of this.
Area. Oh, draw path remover? Is this the guy we're talking?
Yeah, that is the. But we're just looking for the drop.
Draw path snapper?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh.
We have a different button.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, it's something. I can roll with it.
Yeah, there's the file.
Alright. Sorry about the delay, people. Now, apparently, things are... Okay. Wait, is this right? Da, 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 da. There we go. Okay. So, what we have right here in chosen is if the animation is a remover animation, G2, we now provide our own vessel. Right here, a point remover one. And then we transfer this vessel bytes tag. And then we transfer my vessel back to the animation. So basically, yes. Da, 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 da. Actually, Control Enter Plus. Apparently, I'm just gonna have horrible luck with my Emacs today. Of course, it normally works on my machine when I'm at home or back at the office. No, 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 no. Yeah. Oh, Control X plus. Okay. X plus. Hmm? Aha! Success. We'll try one more. Yes. Yep. So you can transfer vessels, a big chunk of them. So if you want to replace multiple vessels, for example, that animation is using, you could do so here. So, for example, this has a cross vessel. You could modify that to change the graphics as well, specifically. So if maybe when you're mousing over your animation, you want it to be, nice, large red box, or maybe you want it to be a red circle, anything like that. You can modify all of that by doing these transferring of vessels. Yes, so the tags are something that you define. Yes. Right. And so yeah, there's a little bit of the back end here and a bit of a learning curve coming from the old system, but once you kind of get the hang of it, I mean, possibilities are not quite endless, but pretty close, I think. So there's a lot that you can do here, and being able to interact with core animations without having to actually, subclass them or replace them is already pretty powerful from an extension perspective. So. Yeah. Right. And I mean, right, this is all 9.5, so you can start looking at this today and start actually kind of poking around with it and running into questions, approach us, please email us, get in contact with us because we'd love to help you and we'd love to expand this stuff out. You know, there's a lot we can do here, and I'm excited to see what all you guys do with this stuff. Yeah, we got some powerful tools here. So, any other questions? All right. A bit early. Good. Yeah, we can call it there. If you have any other questions or you want to kind of hang around, poke me. As I said, I am responsible for Abstract Office, so if you have any feedback you want to provide, I am all ears.